Hey guys, this is the video where you're going to do your plans and your sections for project one. Uh, already you should have your cubes and have designed your towers. You'll notice there's a transition into Rhino 8. We've kind of changed this part of the project. Um, some of the buttons are in maybe slightly different places than in the previous videos, but this should actually align more with what you are using. Um, but we have our three towers from our last video, right? Um, Basically, as you're kind of going through and stacking and designing, you're going to kind of want to assess the qualities of each of your towers, and basically determine which one you think would make perhaps the most compelling drawings. And um, I feel like all three of these, there's an argument to be made for each of these. I think maybe this one is the least interesting in plan. I think this one could be interesting in plan and section. And I think this one also could be interesting in planner section. But I'm just gonna, for the sake of ease, gonna choose this one for the video. And so first thing, I'm gonna kind of run through a couple different commands as I go, but like ZSA, we've kind of talked about this before. ZSA, hit enter. This changes your zoom extents, not only in this window, but in all of your other windows. It centers your highlighted content. And I'm double clicking on the window to get in and out of each view. And really what we want to do is we want to start drawing clipping planes. And so for those of you unfamiliar, if you type clipping plane and you draw a plane, basically what this does is it clips your model. Isn't that interesting? So I drew it kind of far away. I can drag this over with my gumball C plane, but as I drag this thing up and down, um, it's basically cutting everything in your entire view to align with you know the clipping plane. And so when you go to your properties, you'll see there's parallel, top, front, and right. And so that will always correspond to whatever windows you have open, right? So you'll see this isn't being cut over here in my front window. If I were to check front, all of a sudden this cut now is represented in that view as well. But I digress. What we want to do is find a part of this that will have an interesting cut. So I think maybe cutting right here could be interesting. You're still seeing background information beyond, um, while still cutting through something as well. And since our boxes are hollow, they're well, okay. So they're solid boxes, but when we make 2D, I'll show you what happens. So if I go into the top view, now you see, if I were to just make 2D in top view, the clipping plane that I have selected right here is not active in the top view. So it would just make 2D like the line work if you're just looking down on top of the building. You got to make sure to check that box to get your cut line, right? So now that that's active in this viewport, I can highlight this, type make 2D, and we're just going to grab this and it will generate some lines for us. Now it looks like some lines are missing, and that is because I'm not sure why that is actually. Um, it just seems to not like this box that we're cutting through. So we're losing a little geometry there. I wonder why that is. See, sometimes I encounter things that I am unaware of. This was from a little experiment. So let's try that again. I just take this, make 2D. We want the view. Uh, Scene silhouette. Give us that. Clipping plane intersections, you want to make sure that is on. So then when that generates, it gives you what you're cutting through. Okay. So that actually seems to be a new thing for Rhino 8. You won't get the objects that you're trying to cut through by default, so make sure that is checked. I also turned on scene selection, but that doesn't seem to have added anything to this particular cut, but we can get into that in a later video. So what I would recommend is keep this clipping plane so you know exactly where you cut and you can go back and reference your model, and then you can just uncheck it, right? So when you get your second one, you can select your clipping plane, Control C, Control V, and you've copy pasted. You can use your gumball rotate tools, right? Turn this bad boy 90 degrees, and then I can turn this back on in parallel and start to just investigate what I want to cut through over here, right? So there's like this funky triangle piece. If I start cutting through that, eventually I would lose it. But if I cut, so if I cut past it, I lose it. But if I cut forward, I'm not cutting through this box down here. So I think there's like maybe a happy middle ground somewhere in here. Like that could be fun. And you're getting a kind of a peculiar interaction here because this is two different shapes, right? So this is being just slivered through. You know what? I might just like cut through that whole piece completely, just in this instance. Um, and this is really going to be something that is your choice and up to you. And then in the front view is where that cut is visible. So if I select that clipping plane, turn it on in front, and again, I can just kind of highlight and grab. Now make sure, had this line work actually been over here, it would have picked that up as well when I went to highlight it. And it kind of did right there. So you got to hold shift to, oh, sorry, hold control to deselect that. Shift would have added to the selection. You can also go ahead and deselect your clipping plane there. You want to make sure when you're grabbing stuff, if you want to grab everything, specifically with clipping planes, drag from the right side, because if you grab from the left side, it will only, left side grabs only grab things that you've like fully encompassed, and because you're putting the clipping plane through it, it doesn't read it as being like fully grabbed. So make sure your selection is good. Make 2D. And then that's going to pop something out in our top view. And so here we have these two drawings. I'm going to turn our clipping planes off because they can sometimes get a little silly. We're going to turn both of those off. And then one final thing I want to do is I want to make an outline of each of these, just like a thicker outline. So if I just go ahead and grab these, I'm going to do it one at a time. Actually, you know what? You type the command first, curve Boolean, and then you can select your curves, hit enter. You can do it both ways. So this is, you can basically like select a shape and it'll make that outline for you. But instead of grabbing all these boxes on the inside, if you click on the outside, it will just generate the outline of all of your content. And so now you have this outline. And what I also want to do is we are cutting through these and they are solid. So technically, as you're cutting through them, they're going to read as these like wholly solid objects, which isn't how it doesn't look good on paper. Um, so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of give it like a wall thickness and show the inside as hollow. So what we can do is take our lines, our outline, and we can type offset. And I think honestly, you want to offset it in, right? So make sure you're on the correct side. The yellow line is what you've selected, and the blue will be the new line. And I think 0.25 inches is great. I think that's so great. I think this is like a super healthy thickness for this scale. And we're just gonna like leave that in there. And so you'll notice when we made 2D, some of these lines came in dashed and they came in the same colors as the objects we're dealing with. And so we already had kind of our sorry, there's a car honking outside that is distracting me. We already had in our models these shapes with our planes, with the colors of how they are, right? Like whether it is inside or outside. And so those colors were on layers, and those layers will, your make 2D will always match the layers that you are grabbing from, right? So we're going to go back in the top view. And again, I'm just going to grab this for Boolean. So I grabbed it first that time, and it functions the same. The outside, get that outside curve, type offset, then click on the interior. And so you've got those lines. However, I was seeing if anyone would catch that. This, remember, when we're looking at our shapes, in this particular view, when we turn this clipping plane back on, it was kind of like a test. You're not cutting through the whole thing, right? Like this piece is still exposed. So when you do your curve Boolean and your silhouette, you actually don't want this to be selected. So grabbing the outside uh, is not enough necessarily. So if we take this again and do curve Boolean, click on the outside and then click that one, and it removes that piece that's not being cut through from your selection. And then this is going to be the actual like cut wall of your thing, because this is exterior. Same thing here. Just seeing if you're paying attention. With this in plan, and this is where it's nice to have not moved your clipping planes. This is still in the same spot. I can turn this back on in parallel. I can turn this other one off. I can see I am just cutting through this square and this triangle, right? So I can go up here, curve Boolean, and it is this square and this triangle is being cut through. Grab that, offset, and then there's that wall thickness. So now that we have these, really what we can do is we can jump into Illustrator and start drawing. So I'm thinking what we want to do is grab our drawings, file, export selected. I have a spot for this. We're going to select Illustrator. And so we can grab, I just have like a test file ready to go. Go ahead and click options. If you do 1 inch to 1 inch, I think these might be a little big for your your 18 by 18 drawings if you want them, on the same sheet. So I might do 1 inch equals 0.5 inch. And so this will uniformly scale everything for me. Go ahead and hit save. And I'm replacing an existing file. And now we're going to open Illustrator. See my save date updated. Takes its time. Feel free to zoom past this part till it's all opened up. And here we have in here we want to grab our stuff. Go ahead and bring it down onto the sheet. Sorry for the brief pause there. I had to restart my Illustrator because my properties were just blank. But anyways, we're going to drag our content down onto our artboard. Remember that we want this to be 18 by 18. Now your arrangement on the artboard, you have some flexibility there, but I think that section over plan, depending on your tower, could look nice. I think it serves this setup pretty well. But anyways, yeah, then it's really just kind of going through the process of getting everything where you want it to be. Let's look at our layers. We want to look at all the different layers we have. So if I hide everything one at a time, this is our visible blue. This is kind of our cut layer. So I'm going to move that to the top. And I'm also going to increase the line weight of it to 2. And I'm not sure how I'm feeling about the color yet. So we're going to hold on that and then just go back through. I'm going to turn that one off and turn all our other ones on. So we have some hidden lines, right? And it's kind of, you got to kind of take a peek at this. There's clipping plane intersections. We'll move that up. The scene silhouette is the background information. We're going to turn that off for now because it looks like it just duplicated our lines that we already had. And so we might leave that layer off, move that to the bottom. And so we have 2 hidden layers. Sorry, we have 3 hidden layers. 1, 2. No, we have 2. They're just, hidden and visible. Sorry, there's a lot happening here that is distracting me outside my window. So we're going to take our hidden lines, move them to the bottom. So you have hidden on both of these. I'm going to turn those back on, grab each of them by holding shift, grabbing the whole layers, and we're going to make these 0.5. Actually, we're going to make them 0.25. And we're not going to change the color of them just yet or anything of the sort. And then we're going to take our visible curves and we're going to make these. Let's see what 1 looks like. So then we turn back on our visible cut. And basically, this is where we start to go through and edit because it looks like some of the information that was grabbed isn't exactly correct, right? Um, and so we can get a little artsy with this, and it might help to pull up your model in your side view, right? So if I started with the plan, like I'm going to drag this over into my second monitor, so I can kind of be looking, and I'm doing this in parallel, so I can like kind of orbit if I need to. Um, but if I'm looking in plan, unlock that layer. I know that this line right here, it's hidden. It came in as hidden, but when I'm looking at this isn't hidden at all. So you have to kind of double check because this is a slanted surface, a sloped surface. So it is reading kind of funny. Like when I'm looking at this straight down, uh, I'm seeing this is a blue surface and this is a blue surface. I know there's a red surface kind of in here, and this surface right here is red, but beyond that, I'm reading blue. So I kind of want to edit these, and I can do that with the eyedropper tool. Grab that, and then go to my, actually, in Illustrator, I'm so sorry, you select the lines you want to change first. And I'm going to grab this one also, and also these. And I'm going to hit the eyedropper tool and grab this line right here. And these are going to be blue now. And then what I can do is I can grab, this line, and this line right here, and I can lighten them up just a little bit because that's a little farther, that's set farther back. So I like dropped those down to 0.75. I might actually drop it down to 0.5 just so it really pops. So you can click on these, see that's 0.5, but these are up higher. This line, I want to be red. I want that to show as red. And if you click the background, it'll turn it into like a blank invisible line. So make sure you actually grab the line, and then we're gonna have to do some editing. So like when you grab this line, for example, we're gonna drag that back. Now there should be snaps. My Illustrator's been bugging out a little bit today, but you should feel it snap a little bit when you're moving lines in Illustrator. But we also want to show there's not a ton of hidden information in this particular view. So maybe this wasn't the best cut for that, but I am going to grab these three lines and make them read as 0.25 because they are even further away than these three. And then these are clear. And then this, when we're cutting through this triangle, these two faces are blue, while these other two are not. And so what I kind of want to do, and this is again just an experiment, but I'd be interested to almost like chamfer our corners here. I just like grabbed those corners with the pen tool right here. Sorry, didn't like that line. That grab my pen tool, and this will snap to your existing corners. Hit enter, and whatever your settings were, it will just grab that. So I think it'd be cool. And again, we're just trying this out to chamfer the edges where it changes color, right? So if I'm looking at this, let me drag over my other window. this wall is blue right here, and then like these two are blue, but this, and this are red. So I'm gonna do this. I'll grab this one here and this one here, enter, and then this one here and this one here, enter. And then I'm actually gonna remove this one because it's not necessary. And I think it could be cool to have some like fun hatch action here. And so this is a one big line, and we want to break that up. If you go ahead and right click on this, uh, you want to go right click on your eraser to your scissors tool. It's also if you just hit C, go ahead and like grab, uh, maybe you have to grab your line first. Sorry, Illustrator's like bugging out on my end. But grab your line, grab your scissors tool, and then just split your lines on those anchor points. So if you miss your selection, that window is going to pop up. And so you might need to zoom in when you have thicker lines just to be super safe. I'm like right, I guess just missing it. That is bizarre. Or did it already cut? Oh, it was already cut. One of them hit and I just didn't notice, so I was cutting nothing. So really what we can do is uh, we see this red is just right here. We want to make some of these walls red, and it's these two and this one. Go ahead and click the blue. I'm going to click this red right here. What I did was I dragged that up into the properties. And so now we want to just do the same thing for the outside. Grab those scissors. Cut there, 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 and there. Selection tool, this, and this. And I can just eye drop if I wanted to do that again. Just eye drop this thicker red line right here. And so now we kind of have a decision to make. Do we want to hatch this at all? I think that it could be fun, but I also don't want to go too crazy and overwhelming. So if we did a hatch, like, would we want it to be different colors? This is one of those things where like the artistic representation gets to really kind of jump in. I will say, I think that your hidden lines don't necessarily need to go through your cut plane. So I would actually, and I know technically they are under there, but I think your cut plane should be solid and blank. And again, this is a personal subjective opinion. You might have instructors that tell you like that they absolutely need to go through. It is just super subjective. So what this does is it shows you're cutting through these objects and it shows what's beyond, but you're also, consistently keeping the color as well. And so like we can like run up here and do this section. It's just going to be the same process though. So I am going to just kind of keep doing this, but if you feel like you are comfortable, you can end the video here. Um, if you like kind of get the idea of what you're supposed to do. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep on cooking here, and you are welcome to watch along with me. I'm gonna turn off my one clipping plane and turn my other one on. So now in Rhino, I'm looking at this, and this is going to be a, maybe a little bigger, more complicated thing. But if I go ahead and grab all this, type ZSA, and start to just orbit around this and take a peek, see what's red, what's blue. Because I actually think without the hatch might be nice for this. I think convention wise, because we have axon drawings we're cooking as well, and those will have some hatch elements in them. Uh, but I would say keep your colors consistent, whatever colors you ended up making your cubes out of. I would keep those colors consistent across the model and the drawings. Um, but yeah, let's just dive into this. I'm thinking that we know this is correct, and then everything else is getting cut through. So I think that we can trust some of these more internal lines. Um, but this we know has to be a hidden line. So I will take the old, I will select it and take the old eyedropper, and I'm going to select just a blue one. And yeah, these we know should not be reading as solid lines. So I'll take the red ones, eyedropper tool, make them red. Did I grab a red one? Yes, I did. You got to really kind of zoom in on them at this thing. And maybe we might want to bump these dash lines up to like 0.5. Really what you're going to want to do is maybe do like a test print, just like the 75-cent test print. I know they charge money to print in Knowlton, or at least they did when I was there. Oh, maybe, oh gosh, I hope they get rid of that one day. But I was racking up all sorts of printer debt. um, but yeah, we can get rid of these. And I do want to just quickly pull some of these out of our cut plane. You can select all of those at once, like speed that up when they're all planar like that. Illustrator, I do think has gotten a little worse over the years. It used to be actually a really lovely program to draw in, and I remember doing all sorts of like drawing in it that I didn't pick up in Rhino, but I have found that it has actually become a little more unwieldy over the years, just with subsequent updates. But that is my own personal thoughts on it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do that same thing where we kind of just start to break these up. And honestly, it looks as though like I drew those little chamfers just for my own sake to keep track of the corners that need cut. So I might just draw a couple of these in, see how it's highlighting those corners. I'm just drawing anywhere it changes color. So right there, it changes color and is red until here. Blue all the way down to my base. And then that base is red. And this is blue again until right here. That's like a strip of red. And then this is blue. And then this is red up to here. And then right here it changes again. So there's kind of a lot of changes on here, but let's grab the scissors and just to test, I think it's worried I'm grabbing those chamfers, but uh, so you might have to just delete these as you go so it doesn't think you're grabbing those endpoints. Yeah, I think that's what it is. You just have to like these are for me to kind of keep track. Um, so I'm just deleting them as I go, but you don't even need to draw them in the first place if you've got like your model up on the side, delete that, hit C for scissors, draw those, go back to your move tool. Could just be hitting C and V. I'm making this a little more difficult than it needs to be. Did I? I've already forgotten if I've done that. I think I've already done right there. So I'll hit V, delete this. Go ahead and C right here, C right there. V, delete, C, V, grab, delete, C, V. Yeah, it's super repetitive. But this is a really fun project. I love just seeing all of the different combinations, like with the same pieces, how many different things can people make? Because no two people end up with the same thing, which is always so lovely. And just goes to show you, even with like the same set of tools and information, people can just come to these like wildly different end results. And it's kind of a nice little metaphor for life, you know? Wow. I hope you guys enjoy the corniness as it's kind of part of the bit, right? But so we can grab these two lines, and I'm just gonna quickly eye drop from down here so I don't have to screw with the line weights or anything. And honestly, I'm just gonna grab all my lines at once, all my red lines at once. So these two are gonna be red, hold shift. These two are gonna be red, hold shift. These two and these two are gonna be red. Oh, I'm sorry. They're one line. So I actually unselected them by accident right there. And then this little section and then the base. And so if I've done this correctly, when I drop, I'm just gonna zoom out for a second. I see another one of a couple of these I missed. So I zoom out for a second, move that over. So we've got blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, blue. And so look at that. We've got a couple sections and yeah, I think it looks quite nice. And you know what? I think that the white is actually a really nice for the like the fill. You're using like white fill. We kind of talked about this at our review for Project Zero, but maybe like if you were to do live painting, which we will get into later when we look at the axons, but if you wanted to end up like coming back and live painting some of these areas out with like like blue dots and red dots or something like that, or blue hatch lines and or blue solid, red solid, like there's different ways to do it. Um, it's like how are you gonna have these like how are you going to negotiate these corners right here? And it just it's kind of like a big experiment. Architecture is just there's so much lovely experimentation in it. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. Sorry this ran a little long. If you're still here, thanks for checking it out and following along. And I'm going to be in on Thursday and we can talk about it. But yeah, reach out if you need any help, and I'll see you soon.